Qualification for the IEM Rio Major is well underway, and the first Tier 1 event since the player break is in the books. My name is King Dempz, this is HLTV Peek. Let's bring you some news. The Blast Premier Fall Groups finished up on Sunday with 6 teams qualifying for the Fall Final and 6 teams being sent down to the Showdown in the wake of the first tournament since the off-season. For number 1 team in the world NAVI, it was no simple, no problem, as they recovered from a shock opening loss to Complexity to march through their group with ease, even avenging their loss to the North American team in a lower bracket run. Their superstar sniper returned for their knockout game, and he topped the charts in what was a routine 2-0 victory over Vitality. World number 2 FaZe also qualified for the Fall Final, however they were forced to do so through the last chance stage as they suffered an upset loss to OG in the second round of the knockouts. Fortunately for them, their star trio powered up at the right time, posting 1.15 ratings or better as they defeated Astralis to secure their spot in the Fall Finals. Joining the 2 powerhouse teams are OG, who continued their bright start to life with their young new roster, marching all the way through the knockout stage with wins over Complexity, FaZe, and Astralis. Next we have Liquid, who were inspired by an excellent 1.32 rated performance over 7 maps from Yekindar to grab their spot. Ninjas in Pajamas had to scrape their way through, suffering group stage losses to Vitality and Astralis, as well as a knockout stage defeat by Liquid, before edging past Heroic in the last chance stage. The final qualified team is G2, who managed to ignore the noise surrounding the poor fragging performances of their new in-game leader HooXi to qualify via the last chance stage, largely powered by an impressive event-leading 1.34 rated performance from m0NESY. You might remember the quote from HooXi where he said he could shoot nothing for 6 months and G2 would still be successful. You might have thought that that was a joke. However, considering the Danish in-game leader was the second lowest rated player at the event with a 0.71 rating, maybe he was actually setting a challenge for his new squad. Big brain strats. Next up, we are going to talk about qualification for the IEM Rio Major. And first, we have Europe's long road to qualification finally passing the first stage, as we have our team list for the RMRs. There were plenty of twists and turns in the storylines that played out over the 4 open qualifiers for the RMR, and no team had a more turbulent journey than the world number 4 Astralis. The Danes were the highest ranked team playing in any of these qualifiers, and yet they still managed to fail the first 3 before qualifying for the RMR at the final time of asking. The Danish squad did have the distraction of playing in the Blast Premier Fall Groups at the same time. Nonetheless, some of their defeats were pretty humbling, as they lost to world number 91 Los Kugotos and number 198 Neon Rangers in losses in the early qualifiers. At least they did manage to get some revenge over Los Kugotos in the final qualifier where they made it to the RMR. Elsewhere in the qualifiers, French legend shox's new team Apex failed all 4 of the qualifiers, and so now the Frenchman is set to miss his first ever major. The only 2 players who have yet to miss a major are Astralis' Zipnix and Vitality's Dupree. Spaniards Movistar Riders will be the highest profile team from Europe who are not participating in the major, with the Spanish squad struggling to recover from the loss of their star AWP Sunpius as they flopped all 4 qualifiers. It was only the 3rd qualifier where they managed to even make it as far as the round of 32, showing just how far short the Movistar Riders were of making it to the RMR. And in one of the most feel-good stories from the qualifiers, smooya's mixed team Benched Heroes completed a heroic run on their final attempt to make the RMRs. The fact that a mixed team thrown together at short notice could do what number 6 in the world Movistar Riders could not reminds us of the magic of the open ecosystem that we have in CSGO, and it will be fascinating to see how smooya's team fares in Malta in October. smooya really out here representing UK CS. My guy. We are not quite done with the qualification for the Americas RMR, however the South American portion is done and dusted and some big names will be missing out. Case, who feature the likes of ex-Furia player Honda and ex-Liquid player Steel, shox, who have made their name as one of the best teams in the region in recent months, and fluxo, who recently completed the signing of a high-profile roster including Phelps, will all be forced to watch the major from the sidelines as they failed to make it through the open qualifiers. There are still 2 open qualifiers in North America to come, however this is the team list for the Americas RMR so far. The team list for the Asian RMR was also finalised this week, with Rare Atom, IHC, Order and Zhizhehao International making up the 4-team event. Perhaps the biggest surprise from the qualification route for the APAC region was Tai Lu not making it. And this will be the first RMR or minor that the Chinese team has failed to participate in since 2016. Yeah, that's a long time. In the first of our 2 transfer stories that we have to bring you, Bymas finds himself out of the MOUZ roster, with the organisation once again looking to their academy team for a replacement as Exertion has been promoted from MOUZ NXT. Someone really needs to tell that organisation that the minus MOUZ plus MOUZ NXT thing was a meme, not a long-term roster building strategy. The young Israeli rifler Exertion has been turning heads while playing for the academy squad in recent months, with players like Ziwu, Twists and Brokey all naming him as a future breakout star in their HLTV Top 20 interviews. Bymas shared some heartbreaking insight into his removal on Twitter, stating that he joined TeamSpeak for practice one day, only to be told that he was being replaced. Ouch. The second piece of transfer news saw Imperial complete the signing of cello from MIBR. The 24-year-old joining after FNX transitions to a content creation / coaching role for Imperial. The move did not come as a huge surprise, with FNX being the lowest rated player for Imperial ever since the roster was formed. Meanwhile, cello has been impressing for MIBR in recent times, averaging a 1.16 average rating in 2022, all the while leading that MIBR team ever since Woody was moved to the bench. And in our final piece of news this week, Bad News Eagles, the first ever Kosovar / Albanian team to make a major, are forming their own organisation. Bad News Eagles have been looking for a new home ever since leaving Blink 6 months ago, and I guess after all that time, they've decided to take their future into their own hands. You can read the rest of their statement about the news on HLTV. I guess it's as they say, if you want something done right, you do it yourself. Remember, if you want to continue following all things CSGO related, you should head over to HLTV.org. We have a plethora of interviews that came out of the Blast Premier Full groups. You can read all of them on the website, and we've also got a couple of interesting content pieces, including an in-depth analysis of the brand new G2. Thank you all for watching, and remember to re-peek in a week for another episode. Until then, we'll see you next time.